Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the KeyOnMillions.co. Last night was the college football playoff projections, and I got a couple of problems with this current list. I am going to go down every team's schedule and quality win of the season. So first, I am going to start with first off the top four. The only problem I have with the top four is the Indiana Hoosiers, and I'm going to go down a list. But first, let me start off with the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio State Buckeyes, top team in college football all season. Let's look at their schedule and let's see it. They started off the season with Texas Longhorns, then Grambling, Ohio, Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Purdue. And let me tell y'all something. The defense for the Ohio State Buckeyes has been consistent throughout the entirety of this season. I don't have no problem with the Ohio State Buckeyes being number one. Julian Sayin has been doing well. Jeremiah Smith, he has had a good season. The defense has only allowed 12 points this season in every game, 12 points, because you can see right here 7, 0, 9, 6, 3, 16, 0, 14, and 10 in their last game versus Purdue. So Ohio State is guaranteed to get into the college football playoff. And you can see the statistics from their top players. Julian Sand, running back Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs, and also leader in tackles, Ahmad Reese. So Ohio State, I have no problem with Ohio State being number one. Now, let me get to the elephant that is in the room. Now, there's a bigger elephant that's in the room on this rankings list. Indiana Hoosiers. I want to get to them. The Indiana Hoosiers, their football program has really, and I do mean really, showed everybody that they are a so-called powerhouse. But let's look at the schedule that they have had over this season. You had Old Dominion, you had Kennesaw State, you blew them out. Indiana State, which was no competition. Illinois, you got blown out by them. Iowa was the closest win that you had all season outside of Penn State. Now, Penn State, Iowa, well, excuse me, Indiana, they should have never been close with Penn State. They shouldn't have. Now, when we get to the strength of schedule and the quality wins of these teams to go to the college football playoff. Quality wins, I mean, when it comes to the Indiana Hoosiers, Oregon is not looking too good because Oregon, they are just an average team, just like Indiana. And the quarterback for the Indiana Hoosiers, Fernando Mendoza, I don't even see how he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. I would put Marcel Reese in the Heisman Trophy conversation before I put Fernando Mendoza in, because if you play against subpar competition, we all expect you to dominate. Now, credit, Indiana is still undefeated, and that number two slot that they are in right now, they are hanging by a thread because I believe that Texas A&M has better quality wins than Indiana. Now here's the Indiana Hoosiers players and statistics. Like I said, Fernando Mendoza has over 2,000 passing yards already this season. Running backs, leading tackles, receiving, everything like that. Indiana, they are the new kids on the block when it comes to being in the college football playoff. Up until last year, we didn't even know that Indiana's football program was this good. And Kurt Cinetti, he is a good developer. He is a good developer, but when Indiana plays against top tier competition, what have they done in Kurt Cinetti's leadership? Last year, Indiana, they played Notre Dame, lost. Ohio State, Indiana played Ohio State, they lost. Indiana, they are going to play Ohio State in a couple, well, not in a couple of weeks, but for the Big Ten, Big Ten championship game. Does Indiana have a chance at winning over Ohio State with that dominant defense that Ohio State has? It remains to be seen, but this is the first elephant that is wrong with these rankings. Now, the second elephant that is wrong with these rankings is, well, with the projection, is South Florida. I'm gonna get to South Florida later on in the show, but I just wanna go down a list of every team that is ranked on this projection list. The third team that's ranked on this projections list is the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, like I've been saying, Texas A&M Aggies, I believe that their quality win, they have more quality wins than Indiana. Now you can see when it comes to these quality wins, they had one over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish early in the season. They had one over the LSU Tigers in Death Valley and going into a hostile environment. So we all know going into a hostile environment is nothing new. You got the crowd against you. You got everything against you. And Texas A&M put a beat down on the LSU Tigers. And just last Saturday, Texas A&M put a beat down on the Missouri Tigers. Now, I said Monday that the Missouri Tigers ceiling is a bowl game, and I do believe that. Now, Texas A&M, they got a couple of tune-up games before they have the Texas showdown between the Texas Longhorns. South Carolina, I got the Aggies winning that one by 20. Stanford, I got the Aggies winning that one by 30. And then you get to Texas. Now, Texas, I'm going to get into Texas a little bit later on in the show. But Texas, they didn't start out too good earlier in the season. But the last 3-4 games, they've won the last 3-4 games, and now they are in the college football playoff conversation and projection. So the Texas A&M Aggies, Marcel Reed's been doing well. Obviously, they are a fine-tuned oil scoring machine down in Texas, down in College Station. So Texas A&M, I can see them getting into the college football playoff. The number 4 team, and like I said, this is homegrown for me, Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, I don't have to go in too much about the Alabama Crimson Tide. I believe that they have one of the toughest schedules and the best schedules on this list, because let me show y'all how many ranked teams that they have faced this season. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they have faced 4 ranked teams already this season. 3 of those games were at home. 2 of those games were in the most hostile environments in all of college football. Now, we know that they ran into a speed bump the first weekend of college football, Florida State. I ain't going to get into Florida State because Florida State is god awful. Now we get to Georgia, first ranked game. They went into Athens in a hostile environment and won. Second game that was ranked, Vanderbilt. They pretty much in the second half took over the game versus Vanderbilt. Then you play Missouri the following week. You beat Missouri in a close-knit contest. That's good. Then you play Tennessee. You pretty much dominate Tennessee 37-20. Then you play LSU Saturday, which was an unranked game. You won that one. And now on Saturday, you play number 11 Oklahoma Sooners. Now, if I'm a betting man, which I am, and that is why y'all tune in to the show already, I'm already putting money on Alabama to win this game. And that is one of the games that I'm going to be covering this Saturday. So be on the lookout for my reaction video after the game because Alabama, they are just on a whole other trajectory than the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma Sooners defense over the past 5 games has had trouble neutralizing their opponent's offense. So when we get to Alabama, they can finish the season 11-1 because I think that right now they are 8-1. Okay, so Alabama plays Oklahoma this Saturday. That'll be 9-1. You have Eastern Illinois. That'll be 10-1. And then you play Auburn in the Iron Bowl. And I don't know what it is, but when Alabama plays Auburn in the Iron Bowl, no matter what it is, it's just some crazy stuff that happens. So you got at least one guaranteed win in your next 3. Now, we already know that Auburn, they are trying to wipe the slate clean, get ready for 2026. They just fired their head coach a few days ago. Now we get to the next team that is on this projections list. We get to Georgia. Now, the Georgia defense, Georgia, as far as on the projections bracket for the playoff, we get to Georgia. And like I've been saying for the last 2.5 years, Georgia's secondary is the problem. Georgia's secondary is the problem. And I'm going to say this. You had a struggle win versus Austin Peay. You had a struggle win versus Tennessee. You lost to Alabama. That's the only blemish on your record. Then you face Kentucky. You face Auburn. You should have lost versus Ole Miss. You face Florida. You face Mississippi State and won that one. Now you are going to play Texas. Now, the Texas Longhorns, I got the Texas Longhorns losing this game because Georgia, it's just something different about when they play at home. Obviously, they could be any team in Athens, Georgia, unless it's Alabama. Now, the projections clearly state that if everything holds up, the South Florida Bulls could be playing the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, I'm going to get into that projected matchup later. But if the Georgia Bulldogs win over the South Florida Bulls, they will be playing the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we all know how that story is going to turn out. But before I get into that matchup, let me get back to the Georgia Bulldogs team as a whole. You finish out the season with Texas, Charlotte, and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech ain't no pushover. And you are going to be facing Georgia Tech in a neutral location. So you will not be playing in Athens like you did last year. Georgia Tech, I expect Georgia Tech to play this game and keep this game close. But one thing, the Georgia Tech versus Georgia game, it is going to come down to defense. Now, we know Georgia Tech has the better secondary and the better defense, but Georgia, they got the better scheme and better play calling. So that's one thing that we are going to focus on when we talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, the next team that is on the list when it comes to these projections, number 6, the Texas Tech Raiders. I just got through covering the Texas Tech Raiders this past weekend. So let's look at Texas Tech. Over this season, throughout this season and their schedule, what quality win do they have? I can tell you that they have 2 quality wins on their schedule. We all know that Utah ain't no pushover. And BYU, they just straight up dominated BYU last weekend. And now they finished the season with a couple of, I'm going to say, tune up games. You have UCF and you have West Virginia. Now, both of those games that they are favored in. And as of right now, they are 9-1, first in the Big 12. Can they make it to the Big 12 championship? I'm gonna tell y'all who the three teams that can make it to the Big 12 championship. The Texas Tech Raiders are one of them. And the other two teams, I just said the other two teams a couple of seconds ago. The Utah Utes and the BYU Cougars. That's all who I have for the Big 12 championship. And as we get into statistics throughout the entirety of the season for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, you all see who is the leader in rushing, receiving, tackles, and interceptions for the Texas Tech Raiders. Now, the Texas Tech Raiders, they have been balling out, one of the best offenses in college football, and they have a couple quality wins. The one loss that they have is against Arizona State, and that was earlier on in the season. So now, Texas Tech, I don't have no problem with Texas Tech being in the projected college football playoff. I don't. The number 17 that is on the playoff bracket projection is the Ole Miss Rebels. The Ole Miss Rebels. When we get to the Ole Miss Rebels and their schedule, they faced teams Georgia State, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane. Those were tune-up games. And then you get to, at the time, LSU was ranked number 4. You get a quality win versus LSU. You win versus Washington State. Everybody says that you should have won versus Georgia, which you should have. If you would have called more run plays in the fourth quarter, you would have won versus Georgia. You beat Oklahoma, you beat South Carolina, and you beat the Citadel. Now, you get to the final two games of your schedule. You have Florida, you have Mississippi State. Both of those games, Ole Miss is going to win. They will finish the season 11-1, and they will have a guaranteed spot in the college football playoff, because one thing I can say is having a loss versus Georgia isn't all that bad, because Georgia has been one of the top 10 teams throughout the entirety of this season, consistently being ranked in the top 10. So I have no problem with the Ole Miss Rebels being number 7 right now in the college football projections lineup. I don't. You got Trinidad Chambliss, excuse me. Then you have their leader in rushing, Keyvon Lacey. Then you have their leader in receiving, leader in tackles, and the leader in interceptions. So Ole Miss has one of the best offenses in college football. Defensively, they are starting to improve, and I would not be surprised if Ole Miss wins their projected matchup versus the Texas Longhorns. Now, the number 8 team that is on the projections list, the Oregon Ducks. Now, this is another average team, like I said earlier in the show. Let's look at the Oregon Ducks. Let's look at the Quack Attack, as I like to call them. The Quack Attack. Let's see. When it comes to their schedule, Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State, and then you have your first quality win of the season versus, at the time, number 3, Penn State. You lose versus Indiana. Then you win versus Rutgers, Wisconsin, and you just recently beat Iowa on a last second field goal. Now, Oregon's offense to me is pretty much average. They are third right now in the Big Ten. I don't know if Oregon is going to be able to make it to the Big Ten championship game. I just do not know about that. And you can see where, when it comes to their offense is pretty much average. Defensively, at times it seems like defensively they can't stop anybody. That's what it seems like. And we get to a point where offensively, I'm going to bring up their offensive statistics. They average 39 points per game. 38.9 points per game, so right at 39. But when you get to, I'm saying that this is the same thing with Indiana. When Indiana and Oregon plays against upper echelon competition, like they are going to, if they get to the college football playoff, what are they going to do? Now, last year, we saw not Georgia, but we saw Ohio State blow out Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Do we see that again? Possibly. But it remains to be seen. See, when we look at all of these teams and we decipher them team by team, schedule by schedule, quality win by quality win, it is screaming that a lot of these teams, they are going to make it to the college football playoff, but without Alabama making the kind of money that Alabama can make, the college football playoff wouldn't be anything. And also, I'm going to rank some other teams. Now, we all know that Alabama is going to make some money when you have them in the college football playoff. Ohio State, the last couple of years, you've had them in the playoff. They've made some money. Texas A&M, we know that they have a bunch of oil wells out there. So that's oil country right there. So Texas A&M, they going to make money no matter what. Indiana, we don't know about them. Texas Tech, we don't know about them. Ole Miss, this is the first time ever Ole Miss, this is probably Ole Miss best season in school history. Oregon, they've been on this level before. They've been in the college football playoff before. They played Ohio State, not just last season, but in the first ever 4-team college football playoff 10 years ago. They played the Ohio State Buckeyes and got blown out by the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, I say that to say this here. Oregon, they have the same problem. They can beat up on all of these group of 5 schools and these lower ranked schools, but they can't beat Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, and I'm going to just go ahead and say it, Indiana, because you already lost against Indiana earlier in the season. So, Oregon has the same exact problem as Indiana. The next team I am going to cover, I'm getting into that sweet spot of the rankings. I'm going to cover Notre Dame. Let's see. Notre Dame is the only independent that we have on these rankings right now. The schedule. Let's see. The schedule. Notre Dame, they lost to Miami early in the season. They lost to Texas A&M early in the season. Then you get to Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, NC State. You win all of those. So that's 4. Then you have a quality win versus the Trojans, which I'm not going to take anything, that's good. Boston College, you won against them. You won against them. You blew out Navy 49-10. Now Saturday you face Pittsburgh. Now what has Pittsburgh done? And I'm gonna tell y'all something. Pittsburgh, I'm gonna bring up their schedule right now. What has Pittsburgh done? Pittsburgh, they have only won. They only have one quality win, and that was against Florida State. Okay. Pittsburgh Panthers, for the rest of the season, they have Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami. Currently, all three teams are ranked right now. Can the Pittsburgh Panthers make it to the college football playoff? They are way down on the list. I believe that they are at 24 or 23 right now, which is not good in their favor because it's a 12-team college football playoff. But let me get back to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they have experience in the college football playoff. Last season, they were the runner-up to the Ohio State Buckeyes. We have a lot of questions when it comes to the college football playoff. Can Ohio State repeat? Can Alabama win a championship for the first time in the Keiwond Dowell era? Is Georgia going to be able to keep it together? Because Georgia's secondary is light in the tail. I keep telling y'all that. Then you have Texas Tech, newcomer. Indiana, a newcomer. Miami, a newcomer. Then you have Notre Dame. We expect Notre Dame to get there. We expect that. But they cannot keep losing the way they keep losing. They can't. Now we get to the point where I'm gonna get out of Notre Dame. We get to their statistics. Then you have Chris Carr. You have all of their team leaders. Chris Carr. You have Jeremiah Love. Then you have Julian Faison, their leader in tackles and their leader in interceptions. And here is their offense for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They average 38 points per game. That is going to be great. Now, let's see the next team. The next team, number 10. The Texas Longhorns. I'm going to tell y'all something about the Texas Longhorns. Texas Longhorns, they've had a tale of two seasons. Their schedule. Now, starting off the season with a loss against Ohio State. Then they played San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston, won all of those in blowouts. Florida, you lost versus Florida. Then you won versus Oklahoma, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt, we all know that Vanderbilt is becoming a top-notch team. For their final three games, you have Georgia this weekend. I'm covering that game, so that's going to be that's going to be a really good game. Hopefully, Georgia doesn't blow out Texas. Arkansas, we all know that Arkansas is straight up water. You can run through that defense. Arkansas does not have a defense, so it's water. And then you have the Texas Showdown, the Battle of Oil Country. Texas A&M versus Texas Longhorns. Now, the Texas Longhorns, Arch Manning, I know everybody was praising Arch Manning before the start of the season, but I was the only one that said, hold on, wait a minute. We got to take a step back. Arch Manning, he hasn't started a full season yet. He only played games last season in mop-up duty for Quinn Ewers. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that Quinn Ewers was the leader of the ship last season for the Texas Longhorns. Now, for the Texas Longhorns this season, Arch Manning is the leader of the ship. Archman is the leader of the ship, and the Texas Longhorns offensively, they've got one of the best offenses in college football at 30 points per game. That defense has improved over the past 3 weeks. But do I expect the Texas Longhorns to make it to the championship game? That remains to be seen, because when you look at this projection, now these projections, that's what they are, projections. Nothing is set in stone yet. Can the Texas Longhorns really beat the Ole Miss Rebels? Because you got Texas Longhorns, they are already experienced in this. They've made it to the college football playoff the last 2 years. Ole Miss, new team on the block, inexperienced, first time ever. Let's see what the Ole Miss Rebels, let's see what the Texas Longhorns can do. Now, the next team I am going to talk about is when it comes to the final part of these rankings, the Miami Hurricanes. Let's see the Miami Hurricanes. Now, when we go to the Miami Hurricanes, we look at their schedule and Miami Hurricanes and their fan base. I am going to keep saying this. I don't know if the Miami Hurricanes are back. I don't know if the Miami Hurricanes are back. But when you look at their schedule, who have they won against? They've won against Notre Dame, first game of the season when Notre Dame was number 6. So that's a quality win because Notre Dame is still ranked in the top 10. Then you play South Florida, win versus them. Then you play, at the time, number 18, Florida State. You win versus them. And then all of a sudden now, for the past 4 weeks, you had a loss here, win here, loss here, win here, and then you finish out the season with NC State, Virginia Tech, and the Pittsburgh Panthers. I don't know what to take away from the Hurricane schedule here. I don't know what to do. And when you look at their schedule and their potential playoff opponent by these projections, can the Miami Hurricanes really stop the Texas Tech Raiders? Because their defense, Miami's defense, had trouble stopping Louisville and SMU. Now, SMU is not even ranked. I think that the Miami Hurricanes will be one of those first 4 teams out. That's what I think. And we look at the statistics for the Miami Hurricanes. Carson Beck, average player, average quarterback. Receiving is average. Running back, average. Everything with the Miami Hurricanes, it seems like it's average now. That's what it seems like. It seems like it's average. And I'm saying to myself, okay, Miami has had more quality wins this season than last season, but are they a formidable opponent? I'm not talking about as far as the Hurricanes being back, because we still don't know if the Hurricanes are back. But you cannot have losses against teams like SMU and Louisville if you are trying to be a championship contender. It's not going to happen. The college football committee is not going to take the Miami Hurricanes serious if they lose to NC State, Virginia Tech, and if they finish out the season on a losing streak. That is not going to happen. Now let me get to the biggest elephant on this list when it comes to these rankings. Now, when it comes to these rankings, the South Florida Bulls, when I look at them, I'm like, really? Really, College Football Playoff Committee, the South Florida Bulls? If you are on the College Football Playoff Committee and your vote was the South Florida Bulls, you need to go back and rethink about your rankings again. You do. Because when you look at this, you look at the South Florida Bulls schedule. They have 2 quality wins. They all came early in the season. And they haven't played a ranked opponent since the second week of the season. You got South Florida. Excuse me, not South Florida, but you played Miami, got blown out versus Miami. Then you played South Carolina State. You played Charlotte, North Texas, Florida Atlantic, Memphis, UTSA. You lost versus Memphis. And then you finish out the season with nothing but unranked opponents. Navy, UAB, and a team that is named by food, Rice. The South Florida Bulls will not be in the final projection of the college football playoff bracket. They won't be, because nobody is going to cover this game. South Florida Bulls versus Georgia, that's a blowout on paper, and that is going to be a blowout on the field. Come on, College Football Playoff Committee. We need legitimate and competitive matchups. I don't want to be covering no blowouts. I don't. Nobody wants to see blowouts. And the finality of this show is I have problems with South Florida, and I still have problems with Indiana. Every other team on this list, and Miami, every other team on this list is pretty much understandable. But those 3 teams, South Florida, Indiana, and Miami, I'm not sure about them. I'm really not. But this is not the final projection. This is just the projection after the second week of the college football playoff prediction show. And with that, those are my reactions to the second college football playoff bracket projection show. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the KeyOnMillions.co. And remember, everybody, one last thing: the key is always on time.